FCCJ Foreign Correspondents Club of Japan. Thank you for being with us in person or online. We are live streaming this event, so please make sure your mobile phones are switched off or in silent mode. My name is Ilgin Yorulmaz. I am a freelance reporter for BBC World Turkish, and I also serve as the second vice president of FCCJ. In the past, we have had the honor of hosting many brave speakers here. They spoke about their personal tragedies in the hope that those who have had similar experiences could have a voice and ultimately justice. We have had LGBTQ people who loved each other but could not get married due to legal obstacles, people who escaped the clutches of religious organizations or the oppression of dictatorships, people who were sexually harassed by their peers or superiors, and people who defied death in foreign prisons while reporting on human rights, just to name a few. All because they wanted the public to know their side of the story and the truth when forming an opinion on any issue, and hopefully give them the justice they deserve. These are all very important and valid social problems, no doubt about it. But if there is one issue that hits so close to everyone's heart, no matter when or where it occurs around the world, it is the sexual abuse of a child. A Change.org petition named Be Brave by 8 sexual abuse survivors has gathered more than 82,000 signatures as of today, asking interior ministers of G7 countries to turn their commitments and warm words into bold and transformative action. As you all may have also followed in recent news, Japan's Justice Ministry is currently working on the amendments to the Penal Code, which also include raising the age of sexual consent from 13 to 16. Victim support groups called for the renaming of a sexual offense charge to send a clear message to the public that sex without consent is to be strictly punished. Our speakers today may be the best place to speak about these issues. To my immediate right is Robert Shilling. He is a former Interpol head of crimes against children. He co-founded the Brave Movement, a group of sexual violence survivors and their supporters campaigning on the issue since the G7 summit in Germany last year and even before that, and also, of course, for the upcoming G7 meeting in Hiroshima in May this year. Next to Robert is Ikuko Ishida, who was sexually abused by her school teacher as a teenager. She founded Be Brave Japan as a survivors group and is working to prevent sexual violence against children in school. And next to Ishida-san is Noriko Shibata. She's the Advocacy Senior Advisor for World Vision Japan, a Christian relief, development, and advocacy organization dedicated to working with children, families, and communities to overcome poverty and injustice. She also represents the Civil Society Forum to End Violence Against Children. And last but not least is our wonderful interpreter for today, Fuyuko Newson. She is also a survivor of children's sexual abuse. So the speakers will make a brief statement, and then we will open it up for comments and questions. And I am very grateful that we already have some online questions, and I'm hoping we will have some questions and comments from the floor. Please, Robert. Yes, Ishida-san. Thank you.
Thank you for coming today. My name is Ikuko Ishida, and today I talk about mainly my country's situation and the recommendation to G7 Hiroshima summit we handed in. So if you have questions about number 1 and 2 about the recommendation to G7 Hiroshima summit, please ask Noriko Shibata. And other questions I will answer. And first, I introduce myself a bit. I was born in Sapporo, Hokkaido in 1977, and I lived in the suburb of the Sapporo city, and my first sexual attack was the day before my graduation ceremony. My first attack was the previous day before my graduation ceremony of the middle school. My teacher of fine art, who I respected, he brought to the museum, and I was happy to because I thought he respected me to study more. But after we went to the museum, I was attacked, and he said he loved me, and so on. So I thought it's a romantic love because I didn't have any idea of doubt the teachers because I respected him, and we are taught to respect teachers, and teachers usually introduce good things, and they are very great existence for children. So the sexual abuse extended to for about 4 years, from 15 years old to 90 years old. Then when I was 37 years old, so after 20 years, by occasion, I noticed that it was a sexual crime, not a romantic love. So I couldn't recognize because it's by my teacher I respected. And I didn't have any idea that the teachers do bad things, especially crimes. Then I started talking about my experience to lawyers, doctors, counselors, to my friends' families. And they said, why do you say now? It's 20 years ago story. It's too late. Why do you say now? But I couldn't give up. So I went to the Sapporo City and so on. But they were not honest. They didn't do good. They couldn't do research. So I brought a civil lawsuit. Of course, the statute of the limit was out, but I couldn't give up. So I failed the trial, but the court, they admitted the fact of sexual abuse. So the perpetrator was fired. So it was 28 years after my first damage when I was 15 years old. So I wanted everyone to know that it takes a lot of time to recognize and tell their stories, especially when they get attacked when they were children. So it's not weird, it's very normal. They are fighting since they were attacked. So so after the perpetrator was fired, I'm still struggling with Sapporo City, especially a Board of Education of Sapporo City, because they are not honest and they are not interested in saving children. So I still have a hard time. And at the same time, since I made a lawsuit, I also started working to prevent child sexual abuse, especially in school. So maybe next time I will talk about school sexual abuse. This time I return to the story for the G7 summit and Brave movement. So last November, the people of the Brave movement, they came to Japan, and I met them and talked, and I was very encouraged because they came here from other countries very far away, and And they said they wanted to do something for G7 summit to prevent child sexual abuse. So I was very moved, and I thought it's very interesting because I also wanted to do something, especially for child sexual abuse, because it's very difficult for children to say something by themselves. And I also wanted to do something with other countries because only inside Japan it's very hard and very. I'm also very tired. So I thought I want to work. I want to work together with them. So I founded Be Brave Japan lately, and I talked with other survivors in Japan. And on 20, sorry, this month, I talk about the recommendation to G7 Hiroshima Summit. We, Be Brave Japan and other groups, we sent a recommendation to G7 Hiroshima Summit to the National Police Agency, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and so on. And I and some met the National Police Agency on 17th February. And I was disappointed that they are very passive at doing a lot of things. And in the recommendation, what I want to do is to establish a survivor council by 2025, which supports G7 policy making and action plans through knowledge and experience of survivors from child sexual violences who can reflect a different view. Because I and other survivor groups, we went to the ministries and we met the politicians, and we also talk about our experience, and we also talk about what we need many times for several years, but the things goes on very slowly. And within several months, the criminal law will be changed, so the statute of limitation gets longer, but it's just 5 years, and there's and the people, children under 18 years old, and so they can add the age differences. Sorry, I cannot explain well, but 冬子さん頼んでもいいですか。I ask トランス。18歳未満の子供には、普通の時効に加えて18歳までの年齢差が加えられる。
18歳、5歳までの年齢差です。
18歳まで、なんていうのかな。例えば5歳で被害に遭ったら13歳時効にプラスされるっていう考え方。
On the draft of Criminal Code Amendment, in addition to the increase youngest age from 13 to 16, when the victims were abused under 18 years old, the years until they grown up to 18 years old will be added to the statute of limitation.
Thank you. So, for example, for the forced obscenity, it's so if they were attacked before they were 18 years old, the statute of the limitation will be the birthday of their 30 years old, and if about forced sexual intercourse if they are attacked before they are less than 18 years old. The statute of the limitation will be until the birthday of the 33 years old. But I and other survivors, we researched from many survivors, and they showed it takes 20 years or 30 years to recognize. Even to recognize, it takes a lot of time. So 33 years old or 30 years, they are not enough. So we want the statute of limitation abolished or expanded like 30 years or a lot of time we need. And about the, so I really, so the changes of the criminal law is not enough still. So I want the criminal law changed again in several years. And I also want my country's government to make a survivor council, because we talk about a lot, as I said, but our opinions and experience are not reflected to my country's system or laws. So I really want my country's government and other G7 countries to think of ending child sexual abuse, and they seriously use the recommendation G7 Hiroshima Summit. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing with us, Ishida-san, your own experience and your call to G7 countries. Next, I think, is it Bob? It's your turn to make a statement, please. A short statement, if you can.
Good morning. My name is Bob Shilling, and I am the former head of Crimes Against Children for Interpol. I also spent 36 and a half years with the Seattle Police Department in Washington State. 26 and a half of those years was in the Sexual Assault and Child Abuse Unit. So I have a lot of experience in, unfortunately, in sexual assault and child abuse. I am also a survivor of sexual abuse. My grandfather was the perpetrator. My mother was left with 4 children by my father, and we ended up having to move in with my grandparents. And since I was the only boy, I was forced to sleep with my grandfather, and my sisters slept with my mother and grandmother in separate rooms. My grandfather abused me for 4 years. It was somebody that I loved, somebody that I had respected. We did all kinds of fun things together, and then he abused that position of trust and authority. And I can honestly say that the effects of sexual abuse last a lifetime. Sexual violence can have a profound impact on mental health, includes depression, anxiety. I suffer from PTSD, not only from the abuse, which was the primary trauma, but also my years of service with the police department. And with Interpol, having seen so many images of infants and toddlers, if you can imagine babies being raped, and of course hearing the sounds on the videos, that's as traumatic as you can get. And I have dedicated my life to do what I can to stop sexual abuse. And that's one of the reasons why I came to Japan in November as a co-founder of the Brave movement, and to assist my colleague Ikuko. And I have read the G7 recommendations, and I wholeheartedly agree with all of the points here. One thing that I do want to point out is that for the Survivors Council, a lot of government officials, a lot of well-meaning people think that they know what it is that victims and survivors want and need. We need a lot of support, is what we need. But instead of telling us what we need, they need to listen to us to what we need. And so having a Survivors Council where they are making recommendations to the government, that is more helpful than the government telling us, this is what we're going to do for you, this is what we're going to do for you. Because in many instances, it's not helpful. That's my remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much also for sharing with us and for turning your, terrible experience into something more meaningful, obviously. So we have also one more speaker. I don't know if you want to say or introduce yourself and your work. Noriko Shibata, just a few words and then...
Thank you very much.
Yes.
And then thank you very much for sharing, Ikuko-san and then Bob, your story. Every time we hear your very strong voices, we really hope to bring these voices to the government and then make it happen or change the government law or the system. We are World Vision, and not only World Vision, but also with ECPAT and Child Fund Japan, who are not representing today, but these organizations are working together with Ikuko-san and then Bob to bring this message to the government. We understand that the Japanese government is, put the importance on children, and then they are going to establish Ministry of Children and Family this April. And also for the international phases, they are the pathfinding country of the global partnership to end violence against children. This is an international network to fighting ending violence against children. So Japanese government is a leading country of this network. So we hope that we hope to see their leadership at the G7 Hiroshima summit to make this, especially this kind of child sexual abuse things, to proceed and then announce it to internationally and then lead this movement internationally. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So if I may just open up for comments and questions, and if I may ask the first question perhaps to anybody who wants to answer, but perhaps most and foremost Ishida-san, you are part of Be Brave Japan, and this word brave appears, of course, in so many petitions or advocacy groups. Can I just ask you, I'm sure confronting child sex abuse in the community is very hard, very painful, and very disruptive for the members of that community. Did you or any of the survivors try to open up to your parents or loved ones at the time? What had been happening to you? And did they believe you? 日本語でどうぞ。はい。
地域のコミュニティでそれをディスクローズ言おうとしたときに親ですとか身近な人たちが最初信じてくれたから。
So first I think I put Be Brave but I think not only survivors, but other people, everyone in Japan should be brave. They listen to everyone's voice. Not so. And for my experience, as I said before, more than 90% of my friends, families, including my parents, they denied and said, "Why do you say now? It's too late. You said you liked him. It might be love romance. Why you say now?" But and I also heard from other survivors, and so most of them said their neighbors, families, teachers, friends, many of them don't listen, and they were told, なんていうのかな。
日本語でも大丈夫ですよ。大丈夫です。
そんなに多くのサバイバーがちゃんと話を聞かれていない。例えば、そんな大したことはないとか、お前が悪いとか言われている。ところが自分の家族や友達に否定をされたことを言うのはとても辛いから、みんなもっと言わなくなる。
Most of the survivors experience that their friends and families didn't listen to them. And also they told them that it's not important, it's not a matter of life. And also they blamed on them. Because of that very terrible experience and the reaction from their most close people, family, led them to keep secret.
And I add one thing. So when I brought civil lawsuit when I was 41 years old, and some TV and newspaper broadcasted, then people around me changed their attitude. So I thought it's weird. Before the lawsuit, before the news, they said, "Why do you say that?" But after the news, they changed their attitude. So they just don't know.
So the pressure from the media, or in many cases, pressure from outside, perhaps even outside Japan, made some changes in their opinion. If I may ask one more question about this specific point. So Japan is unfortunately notorious for some of the things that many people don't know about outside Japan, like the case of chikan on trains, this kind of the women getting harassed on trains, not being able to speak up, so much so that there are trains designated specifically for women during rush hours. Or you just mentioned the Ministry of Children is being now planned because Japan needs to increase its childbirth rate. It's definitely not going up, and there's a demographic crisis. Yet why does Japan treat its children like this? Or just in case of children's sexual abuse, they're doing too little, too late. This is a question for all, actually, who wants to answer.
子供が少子化対策として出生率上げなきゃいけないって言ってるのに、どうして日本はこんなに対策が遅くて、しかも何も取られないんだろうって、それは石田さんだけじゃなくて皆さんに聞きたいっていう。
それはさっきの時間の話が。
時間の話の後で、時間の話はじゃあ全部訳します。今度から時間の話は外国には知られていないけれども、非常に悪質なこういう時間みたいなケースもあって、それが解決されていないって、そ そういう状況もあるし、子ども家庭庁ができて出生率上げなきゃいけないって言ってるのになぜ対策がされないのか。
While she's translating,
Yes,
can I?
yes, of course. I think it's best if you please, yeah, to save time. Yeah.
Yeah, on the previous point, just while
Yes.
we're translating here, for many victims, their ability to, the expectations and beliefs they have for themselves and others is shattered. For example, you've learned that somebody that you loved and trusted, now you can't love and trust anymore. And then you start wondering about yourself. What did I do to cause this? Did I do anything to cause this? And then you get to where you can't even trust yourself. And that goes on for years and years and years. And it's been my experience that most victims come forward based on the cases that I've investigated. Victims come forward somewhere between the age of 28 and 32 years old because you're trying to process what has happened to you and you don't even believe in yourself anymore. So,
Thank you.
ちょっと日本語で喋ります。
どうぞ日本語で大丈夫です。はい。
なんだっけ、子供が少子化の対策、あれですよ、性犯罪になんでやってないのかみたいな感じ。ですね、
If you speak to the microphone,
OK
どうぞ。
じゃあ
Please.
例えば4月から子ども家庭庁という庁ができるんですけど、その中に性犯罪をした人が例えば学校や教育現場につかないようにするDBS という仕組みを入れたいとそういう準備しているチームがあります。でなので子ども家庭庁は比較的その子どもの性犯罪に関心があるんですけれども、ただこれまでその少子化が意識されているのに子どもの性犯罪に対して進んでなかったのは聞いた方がいいですか？
大丈夫です。
まずその性暴力は大人の男性から大人の女性に遭う暴力というイメージがとても強くて、例えば子どもや女性以外の、人への被害というのが注目されてなかったというのは一つあります。
From coming April, Japan will establish a new agency for children and domestic affairs. In this agency, there is one working team to establish the DVS system. This DVS system is to prevent the criminals or former criminals to return to the school or the teaching occupation. Based on that movement in the agency, we can distinguish this agency is highly interested in prevention of child sexual abuse. However, there are still many challenges in Japan, especially even though we have the low birth rate, the public interest to the sexual abuse is quite limited among the people at large. The first reason of them is the public image or the idea toward sexual abuse or sexual violence is from grown-up man to grown-up women. So violence to children or the other gender diversitized gender is out of their imagination.
ちなみにその男性の性被害の調査、国による調査は去年始まったばっかりです。
This is additional information. The survey related with sexual abuse toward male persons just started, launched last year.
で、もちろんここ数年、新しい動きがあるのはとても良いことだと思っています。ただもし少子化の対策を考えるなら新しく生まれてくる子どもだけではなくて、例えば子ども時代に被害に遭った人の、私たちのようなサバイバーの声も聞いて、そのこれから生まれてくる子どもの対策に生かしてほしいのと、やっぱり今その子ども時代に被害に遭った大人への支援がないことも大きな問題です。なので、なんていうのかな、やっぱり私たちの声を生かして、良い政策を作ってほしいということと、あとやっぱり子どもを持ちたいとか、あるいは子どもを持ってなかったとしても周りでサポートできるような大人、やっぱり大人へのサポートというのも必要ではないかと思います。
We are very welcome the new movement within Japan over the past couple of years. But when it comes to the low birth rate and the change of the situation, we believe that not only toward the newborn babies, but also the grown-up people or existing children who are victimized by this violence, the support or measures by the government is very important. To that end, the voices from survivors are very important and has a significant impact to the policy and the measures, and also the community support around the children and also the grown-up adults who has that trauma and terrible experience is also needed.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from the floor? Please raise your hands and we'll be very happy to. Yes? Yes, please. If you can introduce yourself as well. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tisanka and I'm an FCCJ member and I report for The World, which is a Boston-based radio program. I'd like to ask about the government's efforts to increase the age of consent to 16. And I wanted to ask, what are the current problems with prosecuting a teen rape case? And will it improve, when it's approved in the summer, I believe? Thank you.
はい、ありがとうございます。そうですね。一応刑法では、現在の13歳未満から16歳未満に上がるというのは、歓迎すべきことと思います。ただ、13歳から15歳まで、確か5歳以上の年齢差という、確か要件ってちょっとまだはっきりは決まってないんですけど、ちょっとそういう何かしらの要件が13歳から15歳につくことの懸念が一つあります。でもう一つは、その新しい刑法では18歳未満までちょっと保護するような要件も入るんですけど、例えば18歳で高校生がいます。で私が知ってる話で、学校の先生が生徒の誕生日を学校の先生は知ってるので、生徒が18歳になるのを待って、性暴力を行ったケースを私は聞いたことがあります。でその先生恋愛と思い込ませたと。で
Maybe we should have the interpretation here.
Well, thank you very much. for asking about criminal law and the increase the age from 13 to 16. This big change, we welcome this big change. But the ages from 13 years old to 15 years old, the new criminal code will have some additional protective requirement. For example, if the perpetrator is more than 5 years elder than the victims, they must be prosecuted. The case must be the crime. Sorry. This special protective code is not fixed, but this is one of the concerns of us, and remaining or residual challenge for our movement to improve our criminal law. And the second one is the code about children under 18 years old. So this is one case I know about the girl who is the high school student. A teacher of her waited until she became 18 years because the teacher knew the birthday of the student. And just after her birthday, he attacked the student. So a teacher manipulated that student that this case is not crime but the love affair.
それで、私が懸念しているのはそういう、まだあとですね、なんていうのかな、例えばあとなんていうその年齢だけでその18歳になるかならないかで途端に保護の在り方が変わるので、もう少し若い年齢だとか学生を保護するような対応があった方がいいと思います。
So my concern is the protection completely changes before and after of becoming 18 years old. 18 years old birthday is the watershed. We recommend to the government to establish some additional protection around 18 years old children.
Okay. We have some questions online, so I'd like to come to that, and if there are any more comments or questions from floor, please, we encourage them. Okay, we have one actually here online. If you want me to... Hello? Yes. Please introduce yourself.
Yes, my name is Sarah Yamasaki. Thank you very much to sharing such painful stories. And I myself is one of the survivors of the child sexual abuse. And my question is mainly, Mr. Shilling, I would like to know the improvement of the criminal law and public attentions after the decades of the criminal acts acted by religious leaders and priests in congregations. Since late 19th, we've seen many reports have been reported mainly in United States and Europe, and many ex-victims came out and started speaking about the experiences in public. So then many countries or states had prosecuted many of them and came out as a result of the new law or regulations and did it help those activities and movement contributed any prevention of child abuse situation, or any criminal justice has been served since then in federal criminal law or state of Oregon? I would like to know about some of examples.
Thank you. Can I?
Thank you. Thank you.
Please.
Because of what happened with the Catholic Church and some of the other religions where people came forward and said that they were abused, one of the things that we found out is that many of these cases had already missed the statute of limitations. So that was an issue. However, we do have laws that allow victims to sue civilly, and that's what's happened. For example, the Boy Scouts of America, the Catholic Church, they have spent millions and millions of dollars settling lawsuits by victims. So the movement is just getting bigger and bigger to where a lot of states are paying attention now. And it's my understanding that New York and I believe Oregon have I'm not sure about Oregon.
California, I think, abolished.
Well, they've abolished, for New York for sure has abolished the statute of limitations. And I think a lot of this is because of the fact that people are now coming forward and saying, this happened to me. And, you know, the time has already passed for me to be able to take it before a prosecutor. So fortunately, however, there is the ability to sue civilly, and that's what's been happening.
Thank you. I will go on to the online questions, and this is for everyone, actually, and we have 11 more minutes left. Maybe we'll go over a little bit, but I just want you to answer, please, shortly. We have questions on 3 different things. One is there's a conflict, basically. Jake Edelstein from Daily Beast is asking a couple of questions, and 2 of them, he's saying, I've been told that in Japan, when teachers are caught sexually abusing a student, they aren't fired or barred from teaching. So what happens? And also, are teachers who are censured for sexual harassment of abuse of a child allowed to teach again?
ですね、まず、教員が生徒に性暴力をしたときに、生徒が、告発をすること自体が難しいんですけど、まず告発をした場合、公立の学校であれば教育委員会、私立の学校であればその学校法人が教員を免職にする、権利があるんですけれども、まず、ちゃんと調査をしないというのが実情です、そもそも。
Well, in Japan's case, if a teacher in school committed the sexual abuse or violence in the school, firstly, the victims have a significant difficulty to come forward and report the case. Even after their report of their victimization, the case will go to the educational board, municipality's educational board, if the school is a public school. And in case of a private school, that school legal entity has the right to fire or put some disciplinary measures onto that perpetrator. However, under the current circumstances, both of the school entities are not or very reluctant to do the investigation of the cases in school, in their school.
で、その教育委員会など、教育行政は、他の行政と分かれていて、例えば札幌市であれば、札幌市長がその札幌市教育委員会に強くこうしなさいということがとても難しい。
In Japan, based on our law system and the administration system, educational body is independent from the political body. They have some own authority or they are independent from a political body. Let me give you our example of Sapporo City. Sapporo City mayor cannot order or enforce anything to the Sapporo City's educational board.
これは日本の全国のことで、これは性暴力だけではなくて、例えば教員から生徒への暴力もそうですし、生徒同士の暴力も全部そうです。それで、時々、法律ができるんですけど、効果的なものがない。で、教員、ですね、去年の4月から教員から生徒への性暴力の防止の法律が施行されたんですけれど、その法律では、その性暴力を行った教員が、教員免許を再取得するときには、いろいろ審査がある。ただ、ですね、そもそも、教員が性暴力を行って、免職にしなさいと文部科学省が各教育委員会に言ってるんですけど、いまだにそうしてないところ、そうしていない教育委員会があるのが実情です。
This is, the case of Sapporo City can be applied for most of all of the municipalities in Japan. This is not only for the sexually abused case, but also the violence from teacher to students or between students. At times, the education ministry establishes some laws for protection or prevention of these violences, but they are not so much effective. For example, the new law for prevention of sexual violence, sexual abuse and violence from a teacher to student became effective. According to this new law, a perpetrator need to pass the test or assessment to resume his teaching license after a certain period of the case. But even though the education ministry requires and demand for firing these teachers to the municipality's educational board. This actually doesn't happen in each educational board.
So I want to say the new law about the teachers' sexual crime to children. Before the teachers, there's a problem before the teachers are fired, because the schools and the board of education, they don't research seriously. They don't listen to students because they want to hide. They want things, nothing, no problem.
No problem. So it's a bit similar to the case of the Catholic priest being transferred from one parish to another, and not knowing the parish people, of course. I would like to ask 5 more minutes of your time, please, because it took a little while to interpret. I have 2 questions left. I will bundle it up, basically. One of them is asking about, this is from Rocky Swift of Reuters. There are types of anime that portray very young-looking girls in sexual situations. What role, if any, do you think that could contribute to the violence and exploitation? Especially also, there's been news about regulating the color of students' underwear. This is a question from another journalist. Checking that is a form of sexual harassment, isn't it? So the anime and this kind of weird checking the underwear color, do they not contribute to this problem in Japan? I believe, if you have understood it, please let's continue just with the answer.
So I think it doesn't matter what kind of media. I like manga, anime, and so on. So it doesn't matter with anime, manga, or real or photos or videos. But images with sexual exploitation hurt even me. For example, there are some pornographics, like teachers doing sexual things with students. It hurts me, like not only me but other survivors, because they enjoy it as entertainment, not serious matters. それで媒体に限らず、とにかくそういう、性暴力がエンターテインメントとして消費されるということ自体に、私たち、私だけでなくて、他のサバイバー含め傷つけることだと思ってます。
Across the media, those kind of entertainment, the consumption as the entertainment of sexual violence is the secondary or the secondary damage to the survivors, including us.
Thank you. The last question, if I may ask, perhaps Bob, you can also comment on this. This is a question from Alice French of Nikkei Asia. Teaching children about the importance of consent seems to be a crucial part of the fight against sexual abuse. Would you like to see Japan's sex education system updated to incorporate more guidance around consent? And whose responsibility, based on your experience, should it be to teach children about consent? The schools, the government, the parents?
Well, I think it should be the parents' responsibility to educate the children about consent and about the privacy of their body and what areas can be touched and not touched and by whom. There's a lot of controversy right now in the United States because they're pushing to have that education done in the schools. And parents are outraged, saying it's up to them to, give that education. I think some limited education by the schools once you get into middle school and high school, sex education classes is fine. But when you're talking about elementary schools, I think that's really the area of the parents' responsibility to do that.
And Ishida-san, does sex education in Japan actually explain sex and what is abuse? Dozo.
I think both schools and the parents, they need to know the consent for sexual matters, and they need to teach themselves and to children.
Hi. Any other final thoughts, because we are about to close up? Anything you want to say finally as your message? Please use your...
What I strongly insist on is two matters. The one is to abolish the statute of the limitation. And the second is to make a survivor council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ikuko Ishida, Robert Shilling, Noriko Shibata, and Fuyuko Newson for today's event. And we do hope that the changes you're lobbying for take effect here in Japan as it did in other G7 countries around the world. Thank you.